Hey guys, welcome back to my vanity. I know you guys are probably wondering why I was absent last week. So I don't know if you can still kind of tell in my voice, but I was really congested last week and I didn't want to film a video and you guys have to sit there and listen to my voice all stuffy. So I went ahead and just decided to take a break last week, but I'm back and I'm definitely ready to film for you guys. I missed you guys, I missed filming, and I'm definitely glad we're back. But in today's video, we are going to be showing you guys, or I'm going to be showing you guys, makeup do's and don'ts. I do want to say that if you do your makeup the way that I say not to, you don't have to listen to me. This is just my opinion. This is just my do's and my don'ts, what I do and what I don't do, to help you guys out for those of you that ask me questions about makeup. So if you guys want to see my makeup do's and don'ts, then just keep on watching.
Don't call me when your man around, only when your friend is down. I'm just trying to pull your panties down. Bitch, you know I ain't playing around. Don't call me when your man around, only when your friend is down. I'm just trying to pull your panties down. Bitch, you know I ain't playing around. Yeah, I ain't tryna be your main nigga. I can be your side nigga. Slide up in them thousand, then go look up in the sky with you. A different connection. I'm just trying to multiply with you. Top off of my coupe. I'm just trying to go and ride with you. I ain't playing no games with you. Tell me what you want.
You guys kind of close up so you can see the brows, because you know I start off with my brows. So I'm going in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Pomade in the shade Chocolate. So the right side, my right, is going to be the do's, and my left side is going to be the don'ts. So since it's called do's and don'ts, we're going to start off with what I do. So first off, I always use a pomade, but that is just because I have really dark brows, and like you can kind of tell that like right here my brow is kind of boxy, and I don't really like that look. I want it to be more rounded out. So I do fill it in more over here. If I used a pencil, it wouldn't be pigmented enough for me, and you would be able to see my black eyebrow and then the pomade color. And I do go in with a dark brown just because I have light hair and it's pretty pigmented, so it covers a good amount for me. And honestly, I just like it better because it's more pigmented. I don't know, but it's just your preference. So I'm gonna try and look in the mirror and do this at the same time. So what I do is I don't touch this whole section right here in the front. I don't touch it at all. Even if you have thinner brows, if I have a client that has thinner brows and they don't really have much hair right here in the front, I still don't touch it. So what I do is I draw a line on the bottom from here to about here, and then I'll do the little dip, and then I'll flick out the end. Then I'll go in with the top from about here, and right here is where I'll round it out. And this can be kind of sloppy because you are going to go back in with concealer. So I just fill in my little curve here. Then I go in with the spoolie and I just blend in the front with the little bit of color that I use. Okay, so that's what I do. So now on this side for my don'ts would be to fill it in on the front. To me, let me also say I'm not trying to be rude in any way, shape, or form. So, because I used to do some of these things too, like it's all about learning. Like my makeup was not perfect back then and it still isn't perfect now. I'm just trying to show you guys the techniques that I use. So my don'ts would be to fill it in the front like this. I will say showing you guys the brows might be a little bit harder because I have naturally full brows, so I really don't have to do much. I just kind of touch them up a bit. You can definitely see the difference. This brow looks kind of natural, and the ombre effect, that's also what is different. Is my personal preference is an ombre brow. Not everybody likes that, so it's really just up to you. But I like the ombre brow because it just looks more natural to me. This looks too blocky. I don't like how blocky it looks in the front. I don't like how dark it looks in the front. Like I said, I used to do my brows like this, so I definitely have learned. I'm teaching you guys now. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't fill your eyebrow in the front because then it gives you the more blocky look. And yeah, so that is the difference between the brows. Okay, so now we're just going to conceal the brows, and I'm going with my Milani Conceal Perfect Concealer in the shade Light Vanilla 120. So for dews, I just put this under my brow. See how I leave a little space there, so I have enough room to blend it out. Now I'm taking this Eco Tools brush. It's just like a squared brush. And I'm just slowly working my way up right under where I filled in. And if you have any mess ups, like you go too far down, this is where you can clean it up. And then I just sweep the rest of it everywhere, so that way the concealer does not look patchy. Put it all over the lid. I'll even go in with some more concealer and place it just on the lid. And then I'll go in with my dry beauty blender and I'll blend it out. And I blend it all the way to where my nose is at, just so when we get to the foundation, everything kind of just blends together instead of it looking lighter and then darker, because you know I do like a bright concealer, so, and we don't want any harsh like blending. So that is what the concealed brow looks like. So for don'ts, on the left side, I would say would be concealing right under to where you don't have any room to blend. And also, I used to do this, putting concealer at the top. The reason I don't do this anymore is because I learned that when you put concealer on the top to conceal your brows out, and you use a lighter concealer like I do, when you put the foundation over top, all above your eyebrows is lighter, and then the foundation on your forehead. So you can definitely see where you lay that concealer down at. So that's why I don't do that anymore. So now I'm just blending this down. I left no room for me to blend. So now it's like all thick right here. This is why I leave a gap. So now whenever I try to conceal, it gets all of my hairs and it goes way too far up than what I'm wanting. And then I'm going to go in with my wet beauty blender because you guys know that I use a dry beauty blender. And I know a lot of people use a wet beauty blender. It's my personal preference. So for the don'ts, I'm going to be using a wet beauty blender. The reason why I don't like a wet beauty blender is because if you think about a sponge, because that's what it is, a sponge soaks up your product. So like whenever I'm using something that's full coverage, if I'm using a wet beauty sponge, it's just gonna soak it up and make it not as full coverage. So I like using a dry beauty blender. I definitely used a wet beauty blender when they first came out and when I first started using them, and then I just did not like it. I was like, no, this is not working. I was using so much product because I was having to go back in with my products because it was soaking so much product. I don't know what made me start using my beauty blender dry, but yeah, I've been doing that for years now. And again, if you use it wet, you're not wrong, that's just not what I do. Okay, so now this is what the don't side is looking like, and this is what the do side is looking like. So now we're going in with foundation. Here I have the Fit Me by Maybelline foundation in the shade Sun Beige 310. I haven't used this in a minute. You guys know I like to use my little still palette. This is a Makeup Forever palette, if you guys are wondering. Okay, so for the do side, I just, excuse my beauty blender, she's dirty. So I just dip in and I start pouncing. I know some people don't put foundation under their eyes because they put their concealer there, and I do just because extra coverage, but some people don't because it looks too cakey on them. So again, your personal preference and how it applies to you. Like if it really just looks cakey on you, then go ahead, sis, whatever works for you. We're all different. So of course, my stepdad wants to start mowing outside. So if you guys hear that in the background, I apologize. So my phone stopped recording, so I went ahead and just pounced out the foundation all the way down here. But I wanted to show you guys how I conceal the top of my brows now. So I go in with the foundation, I go in with my brush. You don't want too much, so I kind of like wipe a little bit. And then I just go over the top. But I told you guys about the other side, about how like you'll be able to tell whenever you put foundation on. You might not be able to today because I went in with the wet beauty blender and it soaks up most of the product. So it might not be really white under, yeah, really white under the foundation like I told you guys it would. This is the same brush I used to conceal under my brow, so that it does have a little bit of concealer on it. And see how I'm going like a little piece at a time. It doesn't need to be a one swipe brows done kind of thing. And the tail's too long for me, so I'm just gonna go back under and shorten it up a bit. My brows are gonna look kind of long because when I got them done, she left them really long on the ends. I don't know why. Now I'm going back in with my dry beauty blender and I'm blending out the foundation above my brow. And now I'm just going to take the rest of the foundation for this side and cover my forehead, the rest of this half of my forehead. Okay, so now for the don't side, we're gonna go in with my wet beauty blender and we're going to swipe. So the reason why you don't want to swipe, see, now it looks like I don't even have foundation there because it's soaking up all the product. But the reason you don't want to swipe is because it's going to leave streaks, and nobody wants to have a streaky base. So you remember, you want to pounce like this, like you guys saw on this side. So that's almost, I don't have any really under my eye, but that is a one layer of foundation with a wet beauty sponge. And I know you guys see the difference. Like you can still see everything through this side. Through this side, it looks way more full coverage. So I'm just gonna get close here so you guys can see. But this is the full coverage side, and this is the not as full coverage side because I used a wet sponge. Okay. So I'm gonna do the middle of my brow how I usually do it. So what I do, so that way it doesn't look blocky, is I take my dry beauty blender and the excess that is on here from putting foundation on, I just kind of pounce in the middle, and then I'll even go in where there's not anything there, and I'll pounce just so it looks more natural and blended. I feel like I accidentally made this side look a little bit more ombre because I'm used to doing this. So I guess on this side, the don'ts would be, because I know a lot of people do this, would be to get the brush and just go straight up like this. That makes it look blocky, really blocky. So that's the difference. So I'm going back in with my Milani concealer, and for dews, I use a lot. So I'm putting this all under my eye. What I do is I put a lot under my eye, but that's the only place I put it, because I'll blend it out right here in the corner, right here on the end. Make sure to get the side of your nose so that way your nose looks, you want a snatched nose. And then the reason why I don't go with concealer anywhere else is because there's excess on the sponge, so I just use that for the top of my lip. And I'll go in where there's also nothing to blend it out. This might be too much because I forgot that I'm only doing one side. But yeah, and then the excess put on the chin as well. So that's just what I do. I don't put any concealer on my forehead because I feel like there's no way to do it, or I haven't found a way to do it without it like getting all in my brow. And honestly, I'm not really worried about highlighting the forehead, like it's fine. So this is what my dew side looks like. I got a little bit in my hair. So I think the don't would be to use a lot everywhere. So like a lot under my eye, and then put more on my lip, and then put some more on my chin. And then for the nose, I also, in the middle of the nose, I'm just gonna do what I do. The excess, I just put a little bit in the middle. Like that. So I'm going in with my wet beauty sponge and blending this out. I feel like every time I talk about the fact that I don't use a wet beauty blender and like how it soaks up product, people always try to argue with me, and they're like, I think a dry beauty blender sucks up more product. And I'm like, how? If you get a sponge that you wash dishes with and it's dry, and you try to soak up a wet spot on your table, it's not going to pick it up as much as a already wet beauty sponge is going to. Like if you squeeze it and then get some of the foundation or whatever, the liquid, it's going to soak it up faster if it's already wet. That's a fact. So I don't know if you guys can really tell, but this side is like way too much. Like I used too much concealer. And this side is already dried down because I didn't use too much. So now I'm going in with my Milani Translucent Light to Medium, the shade 01. And this is definitely a whatever works for you. A lot of people just get their brush and like soup it on. And I do that for like where my foundation is. So like all up here in the forehead. But I will go in with a smaller dry beauty sponge, and I'll kind of bake this under my eye because I do get creasing, and I find when I bake it, it doesn't crease as bad. I don't heavily do it because I just don't. And then I'll do some baking on the chin. I'll also go in with the forehead, even though I didn't highlight it, just because I do get really greasy there. I have oily skin, so this is why I bake it. I don't leave it sitting there forever though. I just go ahead and wipe it off. So don'ts for me would be just to wipe it on everywhere because I'm oily. So and then I also blend out my eyelid. If I'm not wearing eyeshadow, I'll go in with my setting powder and put it on my eyelid, but if I am, I find that these shadows are more pigmented if I don't set my eyelids. So now we're going in with bronzer. You guys know I'm using the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. This is in the shade Deep Bronzer, and I'm using my Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH06 brush. It's like a angled brush, and I just go in. I really don't tap off the axis like everybody does. I don't know. I just kind of, or I go, that's just me though. So I'll go right up here and start doing circular motions. I focus most of the contour up here and then lightly down here. But mainly up here, because again, I want like a ombre effect, I guess you could say. And that's all I do. I don't heavily bronze. And I also go on this side of my forehead and just kind of connect it. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm going in a circular motion. It might look like I'm just going back and forth, but I'm making little circles. And then I'll go all the way up to the top of my forehead and on these sides. And then for my nose, I like to use this Jaclyn Hill X Morphe JH10 brush. Looks like this. And I'll take the sides and lightly press them. And then I'll go in and make my little line right there. And then I'll take a eyeshadow brush, a fluffy brush, and I'll just blend that out and bring it up under my eyebrow. I'll even take a little bit more bronzer if I need to with this brush. And that's what I do for my nose contour. So don'ts for me would be heavily taking this bronzer, and you can kind of already see on this side because it's not like I use too much concealer, so it looks not blended. You can see where the concealer and the foundation is. That's where your bronzer is gonna go. So for me, it would be going back and forth like this and using a ton like that. So we're gonna do these sides of my forehead as well. See, now it just looks like a big old brown streak. Like I just got chocolate or something and went, er! Again, not trying to be rude, that's just what it looks like. This is the problem I see whenever I use concealer to cover up my brows. I'm putting bronzer, and you can see the bronzer and the concealer. And like covering it up, you can't really, it doesn't get it. So these are what the different sides are looking like. And then for the nose, a no would be to take a brush like the one I use on the other side and just heavily making a line as well, and like not even blending it out. So this is what the don't side is looking like, and this is what the do side is looking like. So now I'm just gonna go in with some setting spray. I don't think there's a wrong way of setting your face with setting spray, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so for the dew set, I'm going to be using the I Love Sarahi X Dose of Colors highlighter. This is in the shade Bathe. This actually isn't the one that I use, but this one's pretty as well. So I think the don'ts for this would just be knowing what highlighter to use for your skin tone. So for me, I am tan, so I use the more gold and rose gold shades. Someone that is of the lighter complexion, looking forward, you would be able to see the gold cast on their face because the shade is too dark for them. And then vice versa, a lighter complected person could use like a whiter tone highlight and it would look good on them, and on me it would leave a cast. I'm gonna put a little bit on my chin. Also for the highlight on the nose, dews would be, you contour your nose, so you want to keep the middle part highlighted. So you want to use a small brush like this to highlight the tip of your nose and to do the little line of highlight on your nose, on the bridge of your nose. And I noticed that some people use a big brush, like the brush I was using for my face, and they'll put the highlighter in the middle. If you do that, you're just emphasizing the nose back to what it looked like before. So you basically just contoured your nose for no reason, in my opinion. So for the don't side, I'm going to be using this Revolution Sophia X highlighter palette. And I'm going to go in with this white shade here and see if you guys can see the cast that I was talking about. Okay, so don'ts would be to put it on like hella just streaky like that. And then from the front, you can see the white right here because it's too light for my complexion. So yeah, it just looks like I put eyeshadow on my face. And then we'll do the don'ts highlighter. So going in with a face brush, going in with that highlighter and then putting it on the tip of my nose. See how it just like widened your nose back to what it looked like. This is being a little dramatic because this highlighter is too light for me, but yeah, now you can really tell what I'm talking about. So really I would take a small one and just dot and line. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to eyeshadow. So for eyeshadow, I'm gonna go in with the Mini Controversy palette because I haven't used this yet. And I'm going to take the, let's not blind you guys, I'm going to take this purple shade right here and I'm going to take a small fluffy brush. This is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH40. I'm just going to dip in and I'm going to pack this in my crease. Like so. I think I'm gonna do a half cut crease. I'm just packing this in the crease. Okay, so that's what the eyeshadow's looking like. So the trick to make your eyeshadow blended is to take a big fluffy brush and use a shade that looks like the shade you use in your crease but it's lighter. So we're gonna go in with this shade and we're gonna use this to blend out that purple that we just laid down. And you're just gonna take it on the edges of the dark purple. And you're just gonna keep going in. You might have to keep going back and forth in with the other purple as well. So that's what it's looking like. And I'm being a little lazy, so instead of cutting my crease, I'm just gonna go in with my finger and I'm gonna take this shade right here. This is my boyfriend's purse. And I'm just going to put that where there's nothing there. I never do this. I always cut my crease because I like it to be more put together, more like clean, I guess you could say. And usually I'll go with the brush as well. So the don't side would be to take a brush going with that dark purple shade and just go back and forth, and that's it. I feel like this is where a lot of people mess up, is they go in with one shade and they go in really harsh, and then they don't go in with another shade to blend it out, or they don't have a light hand. So that's what makes it look harsh. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really having to go into this color for it to like show up. Okay guys, so moving on to lashes. Lashes, a do for me would be to put the glue on and let it sit there and get tacky. A don't would be to put the glue on and then trying to put it on right away when it's still wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. The reason why you don't want to put it on right away is because it's still wet. So you're trying to put it on there and it's just slipping and sliding, not sticking, because it's not tacky. Again, this is something I used to do. I'm just gonna place it on there. I guess we'll just leave it like that for now. It's gonna end up coming up. It's already coming up in the front. Okay, so while my other lash is drying, we can go ahead and move on to lips. Okay guys, so on the do side, I do overline a little tiny bit because again, my lips are like really squared. So like, this is my natural lip line, but I like it to be more rounded, so I round it out here more. And then for the bottom, I just do let's say a little bit over 2. Nothing crazy. If you are going to overline though, you want to do it more in the center and not on the edges. And for the don't would be to excessively overline, and then you look like a clown, and then you do it in the creases too. I honestly probably can't tell that much because this is a nude. Okay, that kind of looks, when you do the creases, you can just tell more. That's why you want to do it more in the center. I think this lash is, okay, we're just gonna leave it because that's what happens. This lash should be pretty tacky now, so I can go ahead and put that on. And I just realized I'm a numbie because I forgot to put on mascara, but it's fine. I'm kind of trying to run through, as I was saying, I'm kind of trying to run through this video because it keeps on stopping because it keeps saying that my storage is full, because I guess because I haven't updated my phone yet. I don't know, so after this I'm gonna have to, I really just need to get a new camera because it keeps on doing that. And I've had this phone since 2017, so time for upgrade. But I think that's pretty much it, guys. So these are the don'ts and these are the do's. And if you do want to add some more bronzer, you can, but just more up here, like I said. So this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope it helped you guys out a little bit. If you guys want to see more videos from me, definitely subscribe, like, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.